Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. This is season 1, episode 4 of Bridging Generations with Howard Snooks. And I am Howard, and my guest today is Charli Price. Uh, Charli is a really interesting guy. And when I first started doing this podcast, I thought, I'm going to invite him. I hope he'll do it because there's just something really interesting about him. And just to fill you in, what we're going to do is talk about number one, what it's like to have an authentic conversation between generations. And the other part is what mentors did my guest have to help them along the way, or perhaps something that harmed them along the way. And so Charli and I are about one generation apart. You're, I don't know, early 50s, I think?
56.
Mid
Yeah.
50s. Okay. And I'm 76. So if I was 20 years old, Charli could be one of my kids. So I'm just going to tell you a little story to begin with. It was the year 2015 for me, and I had a really bad year. It started with my father dying in February. Soon after that, my sister died. And very soon after that, my uncle died. And in the late summer, my wife of 43 years or 34 years decided to divorce me. And then at the very end, I had this really weird accident and broke my hip and had to have emergency hip replacement surgery. And I was down in Texas. So I was, not in it. It was, I'll tell the story later. It's a pretty long story. But anyway, I also had to do rehab down in Texas because they don't want you to get a pneumothorax to fly home. So I had to wait until that danger was over. And then I finally got home. And it was right at the end of the year that the accident happened. So what happened was then I was like at a loss because my life had totally changed in the course of this year. Nothing stayed the same. And I just had recently retired from my job as a therapist. And so I said, man, I need a sign from the universe. And happened to be reading the Denver Post. It was a breakfast time and I had the paper version of the Denver Post. And my dog also was sitting by me, happy I was back home. And I just happened to come upon this article in the Denver Post that said they needed baby boomer models. And it was just talking about how the demographic was still really big and, people bought a lot of stuff, but there just weren't any models that were that age. So I thought, well, maybe this is my sign from the universe. And so I got some training and I got a portfolio and I got like a talent agency. And then I read about Denver Fashion Week, which is, it's had a good reputation. It seemed like a really cool thing. And to tell you the truth, I had no idea there was a fashion industry in Denver. I just had known nothing about it. But I decided I found out how to audition and, wear a black t-shirt and black pants and go down there and you stand in rows. There's like several hundred people trying out for the audition. And Charli happened to be head of Denver Fashion Week at this point. So for the very first people who come to audition, you kind of go through this runway walk to see if you're going to be able to do this. And so I do this walk and Charli and these other people are looking at me. They go, Charli says, well, why don't you do it one more time? So I did, but he let me in. So that started my shift. For a while, I did some modeling and commercial acting. So that's kind of how things started. So now I'm going to have Charli talk to you and tell you who he is. I know that he is a native of Colorado, like I am. So I always think that's sort of fun. And I'll just let you go from here, Charli.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Sure.
So where do I start? Okay, I am from Denver, native from Colorado, born and raised here. I've never lived anywhere else but here, but I spent a lot of time traveling for my job as a hairdresser. So hair was something I always wanted to do from the time I was little, along with architecture or being like a fine painter like Julian Schnabel or something. And my plan was that I was going to go to beauty school in high school and move to New York so I could go to art school. So I went to beauty school in high school in the 80s. And then here in high school here. And then my plan was to go to New York to art school in college. But when I got out of high school, I had just a couple more months to finish my beauty school, and I got jobs in salons, and I loved it. So I never went to New York.
Wow.
But I got to work in New York a lot, and I felt almost like I lived there because I worked for Aveda and I did New York Fashion Week. So I taught for many product companies, but Aveda was the one that got me started. And I worked on New York Fashion Week as an assistant and lead hairstylist from about 1998 until right before COVID. So before that, right away, I started working for Aveda in New York and Canada and all over the US, and a little bit in Europe. And then later on, I worked for a lot of different hair manufacturers. One of them was Revlon Professional, which was cool because I got to go all over Europe and I got to go to South America. And I've also taught in Japan. So I got to go a lot of places teaching for hair products. I was on a reality show. I was on Bravo Sheer Genius, which is sort of like Project Runway, but for hairdressers. And people don't remember it now because it's almost 20 years ago, but it was a big hit at the time. And sometimes we got more viewers than Project Runway, which is funny because Project Runway is still going and we were not. We only lasted 3 seasons, I think. But it was so much fun. I loved that life. And I was on another reality show, 2 other ones that were not nearly as. They were on like the Learning Channel right after Hoarders Buried Alive. So those were like not very seen, but they were still very fun. I got to hang out with like the guy that started Paul Mitchell and a whole bunch of people from the industry that I wouldn't normally. So I've done a lot of weird things within the hair industry. I was a salon owner. I owned a photo studio, as you know, you remember that,
I do.
where people would come in and rent and teach, or they would do classes or have events or whatever. And I would do my clients there and do my own photo shoots. I was involved in the North American Hairstyling Awards. I started a magazine. As you said, I was part of Denver Fashion Week. I was one of the founders, not involved anymore. It's gotten way too big for me, but that was fun for a long time, being part of the local scene here in Denver. I don't really call it an industry. I call it a scene.
I know why you call it a scene. Yeah.
Because having been done New York and doing runway shows in Europe, it's just not the same thing at all. Those are like, true business trade oriented shows. And what we have, what everybody has all over the world now is trendy. They have this, whatever city it is, Fashion Week. They're more like entertainment and community building and, support for local designers and models and talent and whatever, and hair and makeup and all of that creativity. But I wouldn't call them, it's not an industry here. The industry we have here that's, you have an agent. It's mostly lifestyle.
Yes. Correct.
So there's not really there's people who like fashion here, but I would call it a scene.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Before I talk forever.
Well, one of the things that made me think about inviting you was that you made Denver Fashion Week really fun, I thought.
Thank you.
You had a vision, it seemed like to me, and it mostly involved, let's all enjoy this a lot. And the sky was the limit, really. Like it was really, it wasn't like out of control, but it was just such a scene to walk in. But you really had something to do with it. I think, like as a founder, your vision had a lot to do with that. Like I know I'm not really walked in Denver Fashion Week for some time now. One of the things that's difficult about it is it's sort of like, I don't know what's the word, humiliating in a way to go into one of these cattle calls, they call them, where you're in this enormous space, everyone's dressed in black, you're all in lines, and then the designers come and walk through the lines, and they don't check your teeth, but they practically do. And then they select, and it's just such an uncomfortable feeling. And the older once I got out of the sort of the wonder of what the scene was, it got to be unpleasant, really, I thought. And, nobody's going to pick me as next top model. I've sort of like had a niche there because I was, definitely the oldest male for sure, maybe the oldest of all that was there. So I would get selected sometimes. I really enjoyed the runway shows themselves, but
I thought you got picked a lot.
I got a few.
You were a fan favorite.
I had like 4 or 5 different times that I walked. And people did like to see me when I was walking down the runway. They thought, that guy, he's got something going on because here he is at age 70 something and I'm walking down. But what do you think about this having fun thing? Because you've got a special gift about it.
I decided when I looked at my parents when I was in high school and maybe before that I didn't want a corporate job like theirs. I didn't think they were miserable people, but I didn't think they had passion about their jobs. That's such a cliche to say, but really enjoying their job. There were things about their jobs that they enjoyed, but middle management, corporate type thing, I was like, it's not for me. So everything that I've done, there has to be a component of enjoyment or fun to it, or I'm not interested. And I love creativity, and I got all of my creativity expressed through this instead of becoming a fine artist. I also realized that I would probably be poor forever if I was going to try to be a painter. It's like trying to be a porn star, a movie star, or whatever. It's like a rock star. It's like, it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
So my thing with Denver Fashion Week was to make it as much like New York Fashion Week in terms of as quality as I could of a production, but while supporting the community and working with people to express themselves here. Now, there are limits. Like, just because people like, I can say I want to be in an NFL football league, but if I can't play football, I'm not going to get selected.
Right.
So if you can't walk, you're not going to get selected in a runway show.
Right.
So people have a really hard time with that, and they take it very personally. And I've gotten a ton of haters because of that, because I would pre-screen myself. I was the one pre-screening. You go this way or that way. And, there was 800 people. So, we didn't need 800 people.
Right.
You can't let everybody in. And the more society changed and the more the modeling industry changed, it became more open. And there was a lot more people that we could accept because it's just the fashion changed. Different body types, different ages, the whole thing with trans and gender fluidity, all of these things, which to me have always been around. I've at Aveda, I always had every different type of model. I never just had, that was one of the things I loved about Aveda from the beginning, is that there was everything. I saw every type of person. So that really wasn't foreign to me, but it wasn't always mainstream. So, when I was doing shows for like Neiman's here or whatever stores there was a more traditional models, which is like a 5'10" size 2 girl, which is so rare.
Right.
That's very, very rare, but people have no idea. They don't understand. Everybody has a fantasy of themselves as a model and what that would look like, but it's not in touch or connected to any kind of reality generally. And so we tried to make it as soft for people as possible, but also you can't suffer fools too much, because people will take advantage of you like crazy, and you got to put your foot down. So people didn't like me sometimes. So I'm glad you thought it was fun. Not everybody did.
Okay. Well, I did. I got a total kick out of you. Well, to me, it was just like, it was just so different from any scene I'd ever been in my life. Like, one of the funny things is, backstage, there's this area where everybody's, changes clothes. And there's not like closets that you go into.
No.
You just sort of have to change your clothes.
It's changing now, though. I did hair recently in the past couple of years for 2 designers at Denver Fashion Week, and now they provide a private place too.
Oh, do they?
To change if somebody wants it. Most people still don't care. But in the fashion industry, I mean, it's the naked girls running around or the naked guys or whatever. And no, you just don't look, you just don't notice them.
You just don't. Yeah.
That's just how it's always been, or at a photo shoot. There is a shift though now. I always would tell the hairdressers and the models, I'm like, you think I'm mean, or what's going on is hard here? Go to New York. I was abused by the best of them. So, I mean, it's not pretty. They're not nice. They don't care if you've eaten. They don't care if you've gone poopy. They don't give a shit at all. They're there to do something, and it's hardcore. It's not pleasant. I mean, I loved it for, because I wanted to be backstage at Ralph Lauren or something. Whether I was an assistant or not, I just wanted to be present.
Right.
But I worked for the main guy that does all the Zara hair now.
Oh, yeah.
Guido. Yeah, he's the #1 runway guy in the world. And I got to work with him for 3 years. I barely ever got paid. He never knew who I was for 3 years. He would just call me Doll.
Doll.
And I was like, well, Doll's better than asshole, so I'll take it. And, because he's British, and the British don't like the Americans. So we were just basically just there to hold, and we didn't really get talked too much. So I just thought, he keeps asking me back. So I guess that's good.
Yeah. Well, one thing that, as you're talking, made me realize, I'm in Spain. I actually am going to be in a fashion show for this fella who does uniforms. Like, he started with chef's coats because he's a chef himself. So he's starting with chef's coat, but he's doing doctors, uniforms, construction workers uniforms, plumbers, all this stuff. And so I'm going to be walking in this fashion show for that.
Cool.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So I'll be an international.
Have you been to Spain before?
I have twice.
Don't you love it?
I think Spain's incredible.
I love it too, so much.
The food is great. Everything.
People.
Great. Yeah. And then you have to get used, of course, to if you're going out to a nightclub, it doesn't really open until 2 in the morning, and then you go up until 6.
Right. Yeah, very different.
Yeah. So no, that's going to be fun. Well, so I want to ask you about where you got your confidence, because as you're talking, you say, well, people hated me. It didn't stop you. You appreciated the people liked you, and you tried to make it be fun for people, but there are these limits and everything. But what do you think helped with your confidence?
Well, it was sort of a do or die thing for me. I was bullied in school, and I don't bring this up to be for anyone to feel sorry for me, because I think in some way everybody was bullied in some case or another. Yeah. That's part of life, is to face people that pick on you. But I always say I was born with a silver phallus in my mouth. I can't change the fact that I'm gay. It's very obvious. Yeah. So it always has been. So I was definitely picked on for that. So I had to develop a thick skin. And I guess it came from my family loving me and being good to me. And, I come from a loving household, I guess. That's what I would say probably the confidence comes from to begin with. So I didn't feel like I wasn't worth anything. I wasn't being told at home that I was, listen, my dad was a right-wing Republican gun owner and all that. He died before Trump, but he liked Bush and all that and was in the Promise Keepers. But he never told me that I was bad. Like, he loved me and was nice to me. It's very strange, such a paradox. Mm-hmm. But my family was like, I would say the men in my family were kind Republicans. So it wasn't like I was kind. They really, it was very strange. I don't know. To this day, I don't really understand why they were really Republicans. I think my dad made himself suffer more than anyone else with his religion. But I guess they were nice to me, and my teachers were nice to me. So I had a good platform or a good foundation to, and I just, that throughout, it just was building from that starting point of, I knew that there was going to be haters and people picking on me, and that was just going to be part of my life.
Wow.
So I could either be destroyed by it or just keep going.
So could you give an example of how you would respond to somebody who was bullying you?
There was a guy that used to call me a faggot every day in school, and every single day would scream at me when I walked down this hallway to gym class. And I would just imagine him dead, suffering. And that's how I got through it.
So you wouldn't respond back or?
No, I ignored him because there's no reason to respond back.
Right.
Ignoring. Now, when I got into my confidence being built, I think really got going as being a salon owner. I had to be a leader. Yeah. And I found that I was good at being a leader. A little bit in high school, I knew that I was a good leader because we had this sort of band of punk and new wave people.
Yeah.
And I kind of was the little ringleader of that. And we had friends from all different schools. So it was like a community outside of school. That was really fun. And so I felt like the salon was an extension of that. I had to be a leader there. And then when I worked for the product lines, I had to learn how to speak publicly. So I had to go to Toastmasters and all this type of thing.
You did Toastmasters?
Oh, yeah. With all the old farts that were Republican, right-wing, straight men. And I had to go in and talk to them every week. And I was like, I'll get me through this, please. So I had to deal with all of the distributors, because when I taught, my very first tour with Aveda for product was all over the South. So, I just had to do it. You just have to get through it. And I'm competitive. I wanted to be one of the best or the best. And at that point, I was the only one teaching styling, updos. Everybody either did color or cut. So I got a lot of work. So everything, and then being on the reality show. If you can't go on a reality show without a lot of people hating you, and they asked me what character I wanted to be on the show, and I said the villain, or else I don't want to be on the show. So if you're the villain, especially, they're gonna hate you. So the confidence just came from, I guess, survival, and then also educating yourself. If you're for instance, professional confidence without arrogance is knowing that you're good at what you do, and you've worked really hard to be good at it. Paying your dues and getting skill and all of that.
Well, that's one thing I was thinking you're going to get to, that you had confidence in your skill, because, I've seen, it's not, I don't know you just through Denver Fashion Week, but I've, we're Facebook friends and stuff, and I've seen the posts, and I'm just stunned by how beautiful the women are that
Thanks.
you work on.
Well, it helps that they're beautiful to start with.
They have this internal beauty, and somehow you don't like change it, but you just make it so it's just so.
Oh, that's our job, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be anyway.
Well, and you do it. And I think, so I was thinking maybe that confidence comes from your confidence in your
my
skill.
confidence here as a producer is that most people here, their experience is local. And I learned how to do a
Right.
lot of these things
Right.
at New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Because when I was leading shows, I worked with production houses, and
Mhm.
so I was close with them more than the designers.
Mhm.
So the whole process, they do everything. They cast the
Mhm.
show, they do all the AV and put everything together, even from the seating chart and all of that. So I learned a lot of that stuff from them. So I worked really hard to make sure that I'm not fraudulent at the things that I do, that I know
Mhm.
something about it. Like my
Mhm.
photography now, I didn't go to photography school, although I have taken some photography classes, but I've learned from all the photographers I've worked with since the 80s. So
Yeah.
you
I
pick
guess-
things up.
Yeah, and I don't know if, I guess they say that the camera likes some people and doesn't like, and there's some truth to that. But you also put a leg up on these people that.
I think that when you're doing fashion and beauty photography,
Mhm.
obviously the nature of beauty is to make someone look pretty.
Yeah.
And then fashion is about the clothes, making the
Yeah.
clothes look as good as they can.
Yep.
And then, of course, the model. So I see people that call themselves fashion photographers, but they don't care about fashion or research fashion or any of that. So a lot of it is the person themselves, but it's also a skill set of learning about
Mhm.
fashion,
Mhm.
researching fashion magazines, researching the famous fashion stylists and makeup artists and hairdressers and photographers, and trying to do. I don't think you have to follow necessarily rules, but it's sort of like fine art or anything. You got to learn the rules before you break the rules, and if you disregard the rules, you might not be accepted in that field. You can still do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anybody can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But calling yourself a model or calling yourself a photographer or calling yourself a producer, whatever it is, without any knowledge of the subject is something that happens a lot, and I find it ridiculous, especially in the years of age of social media. Anybody proclaims themselves,
Mhm.
makes a proclamation, pronouncement, I'm this, I'm that, and it's like, okay,
Wow.
sure.
Well, I would call you a sophisticated person.
Thank you. I try.
And you have this body of knowledge that how does it get transmitted? Like, one of my things I talk about here is mentors. And I would say that you've been a mentor. Let's say, okay, you got haters, but you have a lot of people that really admire you and look up to you, and you just really appreciate you as well.
As a salon owner and an educator, I've had to mentor lots of people. And transmitting it, I think it's a combination of like just teaching in a formal sense, supporting in a gentle way, but being honest, and maybe a little bit of mild bullying when you need to, for sure.
Right.
Got to tell people
Right.
the truth,
Right. Was well titrated, I think.
What?
Titrated.
Yeah.
You put just the right amount of those things in.
Yeah, the balance
Yeah.
hopefully is there.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about the bullies. Like, do you ever know what's happened to any of your bullies? You ever tracked them?
Not really. Sometimes, like at the very beginning, I might be at a gay bar in Denver and see somebody that's now gay, and I was like,
Oh, yeah, that makes it pretty obvious, doesn't it?
Or just people that, later in life, and I mean, just like a few years after high school, I might see them somewhere and they would apologize to me. That doesn't happen very often.
But it has happened?
But
well, what's that like?
one guy died. One guy that I wish dead died. That was kind of fun. He died, and then I thought I had powers, so then I kept wishing people dead, but it didn't work.
Well,
so I realized, that was just a one-off. It didn't really work.
It did work. It did work for me, Charlie.
Yeah.
I had these two bullies when I was in high school, and they both died horrible, violent.
And you were like, yes.
Well, it was so funny that I shouldn't really feel as
that's fine.
triumphant about it.
Totally.
Also, I had a 6th grade teacher that was very cruel to me, and I had been used to being the teacher's pet, so it was really a shock to me when I was in the 6th grade and this teacher just went after me. But the day after school was out, she started having seizures. She went into the hospital. She had this enormous brain tumor, and she died from that. And so then it's like, well, is that why she did it to me, or did I cause that in her? This was like,
Yeah, that's like this very Stephen King, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Revenge.
Huh. But I mean, it sort of sounds like even the bullies helped you grow as much as the mentors helped you.
I guess, but the bullies that really helped me probably grow the most were the bullies in the fashion industry and the hair industry.
Say a little bit about that.
The British, I worked with a lot of British people that just don't like us.
Mhm.
They look, I think it's part of the caste system in Britain. They're the bottom. So anybody that can be below them, they love to,
Yeah.
the shit rolls downhill kind of thing.
Yeah.
They love that. They enjoy the torture of that. And so I liked getting, it was just a reality, a big reality check for me to see that I was going to do something that I really wanted to do, be at the top level, even as an assistant with these people that did these really big shows, whether it was the hair shows or, product companies or the high fashion shows like the Ralph Lauren and Donna Karan and Calvin Klein and all this stuff. But I'm like, it just sucks because there's this edge to it that the people aren't nice.
Right.
So I guess, yes, they helped me, but I also thought I can change this for other people. Not that I'm some kind of altruistic kind of Pollyanna person, but I thought when I train people on how to do Fashion Week, I'm actually going to teach them. Because when you show up to these shows, they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you how to act. You just have to figure it out. Like the first time I worked with with Guido, he didn't speak to me at all, like not one word.
Wow.
And I was the one directly helping him personally. So for like 4 hours, there was no words.
Yeah, you always seem patient to me.
I'm patient in a way, but once I lose my patience, it's
Then
ugly.
it's over.
Yeah.
There was one fashion show that I think it was your fashion show. And there's this really elaborate choreography in terms of the models walking back and forth. And, we all were struggling with this, but you just stuck with it.
Yeah, you have
never
to.
lost your temper.
You have to.
Like, yeah.
You just have to.
And I think it ended up working really beautifully.
Yeah, people actually think they're not doing well, but then they get it in the end.
You're right.
It's just muscle memory. You just got to make people do it enough, and then they'll figure it out. It's only walking.
Yeah.
It's not like dancing or something.
Right. Right. It's easier for men than women, I think.
To walk?
The walking.
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I don't think it's easy for anybody, really, because they overthink. Everybody is overthinking it at first.
Yeah. So is it still changing in terms of, because I'm not tall enough to be a model. I'm too old to be a model. I modeled back then, but.
I think it's anything goes still.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
I think there's a little bit of a return to traditional models in some high fashion shows. Like there was this moment where I think everybody felt like they had to tick boxes.
Yeah.
And I think that people are making choices again based on what they want to express. But I think the overall is still more inclusive than it definitely was before. Ethnic is definitely, you don't see a show where there's not ethnic diversity. There just is.
Yeah.
In every show.
Yeah.
But sometimes, fashion goes overboard too.
How so?
I mean, I don't want to have a whole big thing on Palestine and Israel, but I think the fashion industry has gone way overboard with Palestine.
Really?
Yes, to becoming very anti-Semitic. And I've had big fallouts with people over that because I'm not doing that. I'm not wearing a Palestinian scarf.
Wow.
Even though I support Palestinian people and their right to exist, I also support Israel and their right to exist. Even though I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu, so I'm not going to beat up Israel ever.
Right.
I'm just not going to do it. And that's a big no-no. And I'm very liberal. I mean, I'm as liberal as they come. Yeah. And to me, when the liberals go too far, it's almost like they're not liberal anymore. Now you're being racist also. And I can't do it.
Well, I'm glad you said that. That's very insightful.
It's not just that, though. There's lots of things. It's with the trans thing, too. Things get really obnoxious.
Right.
Really, really, really obnoxious to where it's like, okay, this exists and we want to respect people, but we also can't go around the room for an hour and a half about everybody's all their little psychological needs and their tics and this presentation everybody has to do at the beginning of a meeting. It's stupid. It's just stupid. And it's self-indulgent and it's ridiculous. It's not sustainable.
Right.
I don't like that word either. Sustainable is a cliche too, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
You can't run meetings like that.
That's why cliches are there.
That's why I don't have he, him, or anything on my thing. It's just my name, and you can decide what you want me to be.
Well, like I guess I would say that the scene is a dramatic scene no matter
Oh,
what,
definitely.
because there are a lot of neurotic people, there are a lot of anxious people, there are a lot of people really trying to get ahead, and I just wanted to get your take on that. What it's like to be in the middle
Oh,
of that.
I mean, it's funny to see people that are sycophants and they try to see if that'll work.
Yes,
Just see if that's going to work. How can I work the system?
Right.
And I don't play that game. Those are the people those people definitely don't like me. You got to give everybody a chance.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, now I think the people who run it now, I think they still do a really good Denver Fashion Week. That is, they do a good job at producing, and it's very inclusive and all that. And I think it's a good event. I think it's a really great event for Denver. I don't think it's a good fashion show. I don't mean that technically it's a good production.
Yeah,
lighting, music, it's organized, but I don't think it's a good fashion show.
Oh,
there's too much. There's not enough good fashion locally to have 7 nights. You're going to find a lot of glue guns and, private label sweats and really bad sewing.
Right.
There's no quality control anymore. It's just anybody that wants to be there can be there.
Well, in the years that I was doing it, it seemed like there was a lot of turnaround. There were some designers that stayed every year, but there's like just this.
Well, I told the guy that actually owns Denver Fashion Week, I started it with him, but I never owned it.
Yeah.
That there's just not enough people. So you're going to have like New York Fashion Week, you're going to have the core people or whatever, any Paris Fashion Week, whatever. You're going to have the core people that are legitimate. And then you bring people in and out as things change. And that's good. I mean, there's some things that come out of every fashion week that you see around the country. Some are good and some are bad, like Santa Fe Fashion Week, I thought was pretty good.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't even know if it still exists. A few seasons, I thought it was pretty good.
Huh. Well, what do you see as a future for you in Denver fashion? I don't mean Denver Fashion Week, but Denver fashion.
I don't really think about myself as it pertains to Denver fashion. I think about myself as I pertain to the hair industry, which even though I'm retired, I still want to, it's what I've dedicated my life to. So I want to just do, even though I'm doing the hobby of photography, I want it to be good and I want things to get published and I want to be out there and I want to know what's going on in the industry. So maybe I don't want to be egotistical and say like maybe an elder. It could be an elder in the American hair industry, I guess.
No, see, that's why I wanted you to come on, because I think that is the direction you're going to be going. This is my prediction. As someone who's doesn't know anything about the industry, but you just seem to have that.
Well, and I'll do it for Denver scene here too. I mean, I still do shows for Max.
Oh, do you?
Creek, and I mean, he does great shows. Just last year we did a show and it was one of the people there was 2 designers that won the CFDA awards in New York. Wow. So very good, high quality. And I'm doing children's diabetes and they're bringing, it's been around since the 80s. I've been working on that show in one way or another since the 80s. And it's a luncheon for 700 rich ladies and benefit for children's diabetes, but they always bring a good designer. So this year it's a guy from New York, Zhang Toy. So that's the way I do it here. I'm really not going to do these rinky-dink shows though anymore. It's just not, I can't do it. It's too frustrating.
One of the shows I did besides Denver Fashion Week was Latin Fashion Week.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought that was really,
I don't think he's doing it anymore either.
Well,
I miss it.
Didn't get any. Yeah, I didn't.
Talk about loose. That's a real loose show.
I know. You know it, like 5 minutes before you're walking.
I didn't even know that we were lining up. I had all my models and they're like, oh, you got to be backstage. I was like, okay.
But it somehow came together.
Yeah, it did.
No,
and a ton of people.
Yeah, there's a ton of people and the vibe was really great.
I
had
fun.
a lot of fun doing
Very
that.
fun.
Yeah. Well, so what do you see as the future for Denver fashion? Do you think Denver itself is good?
I just think people shouldn't think about Denver fashion as a concept or Oklahoma City fashion, or you could think of American fashion, Western fashion, maybe. I think that we're going to stay what we are, which is a sporty, active, place. I don't think we're going to become a bastion of fashion here ever.
A bastion,
because people always say that to me. We could do it. We can make it happen here. No, people don't even take LA seriously as a fashion city. They're not going to take that. It's okay. We have Aspen. We have a lot of money here. The Hermes store does really well here. I mean, we have rich people that like fashion, but we're not going to become known for fashion, I don't think. I mean, I suppose it could be like Antwerp, where suddenly we have this surge of like 6 designers or something that changes, but I don't see that
Mhm.
happening.
Well, do you have an affinity for Denver? Like you were born
I love
here?
Denver.
That's
I'm not
yeah.
saying anything bad about
No.
Denver when I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah.
The more I travel, the more I love Denver, and I love Colorado. I love the Wild West. I love it.
Yeah.
It's hard for me though, because Western stuff gets really right wing. Like I don't go to the stock show or anything. I can't hang at all with that.
Right.
But I love the concept of like, you know, like Tom Ford has his ranch in Santa Fe. That's my
Right.
kind of Western. Or
Right.
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Right.
That's
Right.
my Western or
Right.
something, you know.
Right.
Not Anschutz. That's not my type of Western.
No.
No.
Well, you know, both my parents are from these ancient old pioneer ranching families. So
Cool.
my mother's side, they were always very democratic. My great-great-grandfather was one of the first legislators when Colorado became a state. He was
So cool.
elected as a Democrat. But my father's side was really quite Republican. And my mom was really into being a Democrat. You know, she was what's it called, uh, the what is it called, the women's voters, what is it called?
I don't know.
remember.
She was a suffragette,
Well, it's like the women's voters, so what is,
something.
yeah, anyway, she
That's
was,
cool.
you know, on the
So
board
she
of
was
that.
liberated woman.
Yeah, and my dad would be a delegate, you know, to the state, you know, they had the state Republican convention, and they loved to talk politics, but it wasn't some horrible thing, you know. They didn't.
Well, I think we've gone through obviously ebbs and flows of
Yeah,
being tribalized and polarized.
yeah.
I
Are
mean,
we in
obviously,
the ebb or
Civil
the
War.
flow, right?
Ugh, we're in the horrible death spiral right
Yes,
now.
we are. It's scary. It is very scary.
Yeah.
What's happening? Wow. Well, Charlie, what do you see for yourself now that you're retired, but you're not really retired? And I will say one thing: Charlie seems to really be well known internationally because your hairstyles and your makeup are always in these fashion magazines that are in other countries.
Well, I've worked hard on that. I think some of it comes from working with a lot of product companies, hair product companies. And so I'm known by a lot of hairdressers. Being on that reality show, the reality show aired in 22 countries. So I got a lot of foreign interest. And so I think the people that inspire me the most are hairdressers from like Eastern Europe and Japan, or really the Far East. But I don't know if Far East, that's such an old fashioned way to say it, Asia, but Japan specifically. And so I follow them. And so then they follow me back. I work on that. And since I don't work for product companies anymore, I just thought, well, I want to get published, but I'm not going to get published in Vogue and Elle and all these things. I mean, I did end up getting some stuff in some big magazines like Bazaar and Elle and L'Officiel and stuff, but they're not the main issues, like the really, really big ones.
Right.
So they're ancillary little ones. But
Right.
I've worked on that. Just there's a whole world of little underground magazines, and I just love, really all you got to do is send things. This is a frustration. One of the main reasons I started doing all this photography was it used to be there was kind of an unwritten rule that the photographer was supposed to send things out for editorial fashion. Like the photographer, he or she would pull the team together and we would all have our jobs, but then they would package it and they kind of owned the pictures and then they would send it out, get it published. If it's a hair shoot, then the hairdresser or the makeup artist for that specific beauty shoots, but the photographer is always involved and they just wouldn't do it. The photographers I worked with just really would not get it out very much.
Wow.
Much less a lot of them don't want to finish. There's people that I've worked with in recent years who are very good at finishing, but that was one of my big frustrations. You do a shoot and you might not see it for 6 months and I'd be like, are we ever going to see the pictures? And they would only, you'd shoot like 1,000 pictures and they would retouch 3.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
So I'm good at retouching them quickly, getting them to the models. And I'm good at, because when I owned a salon, I used to have to send out PR packets all the time. And I had a PR person, so I'd have to get them ready for her in New York. So I just know how to do that. But I also think it's fun. I like interfacing with these weird magazines from, Ukraine. I'm like, how do you have a magazine right now?
I know.
In Ukraine.
Right.
What's going on? Are you getting bombed right now?
Yeah.
They don't really say much, but
no.
I look them up though to see if they're lying. I want them to see if they're really this is the thing. Like you talk about authenticity. I don't like lying. I don't want to say something if it's not true. So if I mention that they're from a country, I've done my homework to make sure they actually are in that country. Like the lady in Japan, I'm like, do you really live in Japan because you're white? Or is this just
Oh,
something you say? She lives there. She lives. It's a
yeah.
white lady in Tokyo.
Have you ever found a fake?
There's
And
lots of fakes.
are there?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
There's a whole. They just want you to give money. They want you to give money, and it's
I
like a
see.
fake magazine.
I see.
I've given money to some sort of like shady ones, but it's never much. I've given them like $50 or something.
Yeah.
It's like a
Huh.
low amount. And people are like, I don't like it when they charge artists. I'm like, honey, you got to pay everywhere you go. And if you,
Hmm.
whatever you're doing in life, you're paying.
Hmm.
So just get used to that.
Well, now was your mother into hair and fashion
My
and
grandmother,
makeup?
my
Your
grandmother
grandmother.
was, yeah,
Was
she
now, was she
works.
from Denver or Colorado?
Well, she lived, yeah. I mean, she was from Kansas, my grandparents, but they moved here when they were in their 20s.
Ah, and so she was really into that.
My grandmother worked at the Denver Dry Goods. She
Oh,
loved
yeah.
it.
When I was a little kid, my parents would bring us to Denver every once in a while, so we would sort of know what a city was like.
Right.
'Cause growing up in Durango, the white tablecloth
The restaurants. Yep.
restaurants and Denver Dry.
That's right.
Riding the escalator,
Mhm.
going up to the tea room at Denver
Uh-huh.
Dry.
Mhm.
I remember that really
Yep.
well. So
she
worked
worked
there.
in the Cherry Creek one, though,
Oh,
which is where the Bed Bath & Beyond was, which is now,
Yep.
I think, torn down.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Huh. Okay, so would you call her a mentor?
As far as fashion, yeah. And she taught me how, she said, you want to keep it soft. She said, whatever you're doing, the woman always has to look soft and pretty. And I still think of her all the time when I'm doing something really weird.
That's interesting.
yeah.
That's a very
And so
interesting
if you
thing.
look at my work, I always try to make the woman look pretty, even if it's weird. Or the guy,
yeah,
attractive.
yeah,
Something,
yeah,
I don't know if soft for a man, but
something. Huh. Well,
attractive,
yeah, I think you pull it off
classically
really well.
attractive.
You pull it off, I think, really well. I always look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing your
Thanks.
pose. So tell me just a little bit about makeup, because every once you say sometimes I do makeup,
Uh-huh.
and then you have this sort of stunning model with all this. How did you get into
Thank
the
you.
makeup?
Well, when I was in beauty school, I'm a cosmetologist. And for people that don't know what that is technically I can give you a facial, I can do your nails, and I can do your makeup, or I can do your hair. You don't want me to do your nails or give you a facial, but I'm licensed for that. So it's very strange.
That's
Now you
funny.
can be just a hairdresser if you want, but at the time I went, you had to do all of it.
I see.
So I learned
I
makeup,
see.
but I was really into it when I was in high school because we were punk and new wave. I did my own makeup. We did crazy, MTV, like
Mhm.
whether it
Oh,
was Goth
yeah,
or Boy
yeah,
George or
yeah.
Duran Duran or whatever.
Yeah.
They all wore makeup. So
Yeah,
we were
right.
really crazy doing that. So I've done makeup on myself and other people since I was like, I don't know, 13. But I learned it in beauty school. And then when I started at Aveda, as educators, we had to be cross-trained. So we had to be able to do
I
all of
see.
it. We had
I
to do
see.
color, we had to do cutting, we had to do makeup. And they also taught us about aromas. We had to be sort of like certified to know all the aromas and the top notes and the middle notes and all that, because that was such a cornerstone of the brand. So
Mhm.
I loved the makeup part. And that was another thing a lot of people didn't like, especially the straight alpha males. They only wanted to just do cut hair.
Mhm.
So I didn't mind doing all of it. And a lot of times the women weirdly just wanted to do color. So I would do all of the, I would do the
Wow.
things that people didn't want to, the hairstyling and the makeup. So, and then when I started in the salon in the 80s in Cherry Creek, I did makeup. And so I did clients for makeup. So I've just kind of always done it. My first major fashion show was in Aspen in the 80s. And I did makeup because there wasn't enough
Oh,
makeup artists.
That
So
was
we
my
had to
next question. What was your first fashion show?
It was the designer Ferré, and he was an Italian designer, and he was one of the first that ever was a couturier in Paris for a big brand. So he was the first non-French
Wow.
head
Wow.
designer of Dior.
Wow.
And I got to do makeup for him in the salon I worked at was doing the hair in Aspen I don't remember if it was the museum or what it was, but it was an amazing experience.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what really got my hunger going to really do it for real. And I had to wait a long time. I had to wait 10 years to get to Milan.
10 years. Huh?
Yeah.
I remember when I think you were in you were in Madrid one time for some fashion.
We did Madrid a lot, but that was a hair show.
That was a hair
for
show?
the International Hairdressing Awards. Yep. Very fun.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noticed is you kept your goals from being a very young age. You played them out.
I'm very into goal setting.
You are.
Short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. And I'm struggling right now because as I extricate myself from my career, that sort of thing doesn't apply as much. It's more like what's going to make me happy. Because I don't want to pay dues anymore. I don't want to pay a lot of money or invest a lot of time
Yeah.
because I'm not moving towards a career goal.
Right.
There is no career goal. It's
Right.
just happiness
Right.
and enjoy what I'm doing, and that's it. So it's a little more strange, but I guess anybody that retires goes through that.
Yeah. Welcome to the club.
Right. But I mean, I've really tried to do it, gradually. Like first I didn't own a salon. Then I stopped traveling for hair companies. And then now I don't really have a clientele anymore. I just do a few like little 80 something year old ladies that we can't bear to separate.
I think I know one of them.
Yeah, you do. You do. And she's definitely not your normal 80-year-old lady.
No, she isn't. No, she isn't. Well, that was one of my questions. Some women get attached to their hairdressers, and if you're
Men do too.
well, yeah, that's true. I go to Rollins Barbershop in Boulder, and it's just the coolest barbershop, and I just love it. But what do you do when you've done somebody's hair for 25 years, and you say, "Well, I'm retiring," and who do you send them to? Like, how do you?
Well, I
decide?
kind of had one of the catalysts was I had a blood clot issue.
Ooh,
I had deep vein thrombosis. It turns out I have a gene, so it was sort of that was a catalyst that made it a
Gotcha.
lot easier to tell people.
Gotcha.
And so they kind of had to go find somebody else for a little while
Gotcha.
anyway.
Did you have people in mind that you?
Oh, I give them a referral list. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a referral list of 5 or 6 people I send people to depending on their personality and what they want.
Yeah. So do you have a stent now for your?
No, I just am on Eliquis.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really bad though. I had a pulmonary embolism too.
Well, I remember I didn't know what it was that had happened, but I knew you did have some sort of health scare.
And they don't know why. There was like 5 reasons I could have had it. So
Wow.
that forced me to retire for a few months. And then I was like, this might be just a good time to just do this.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad you got through the thrombosis.
Thank you. Yeah, that was scary.
And thank you so much for being here on my show and helping
Thanks.
me along
Fun.
with that. I appreciate it a lot.
My pleasure. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Okay. Any last words for the?
Any last words? No.
Well, my only last words are I think Denver is a really cool city. I've only lived in Denver just very briefly for a year, but it's my capital city of the state I love. And I just have always thought the world of Denver. And there's just so much going on under the surface. You don't really know that there's so many things going on. It's a city that has that size now.
Right.
And so I just think it's really cool. And like you say, it's a fashion scene. It's not a fashion center.
Yeah, that can be my last word. There's nothing wrong with Denver. It's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great city in the world.
Yeah. All right.
Love Denver.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks.